Honoring the memory, the achievements, and the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., we welcome you to Memphis, Tennessee on a wet night for the celebration game, an annual affair here, the first of a doubleheader on TNT. And tonight, it's the San Antonio Spurs with the best record in the Western Conference against the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the fourth best record in the West. Dick Stockton, along with Reggie Miller, John Thompson, and Cheryl Miller, ready for action here as the Spurs and the Grizzlies go at it. And the McDonald's starting lineups for tonight's game: Bruce Bowen, Tim Duncan, and Rasho Nesterovic up front. Manu Ginobili in his second start since coming back from his foot injury, and Tony Parker, the point guard. Shane Battier and Pau Gasol, who's had quite a year, up front at forward. Lorenzen Wright is the center for the Grizzlies, and the veterans Eddie Jones and Bobby Jackson in the backcourt. And the officials tonight: Dick Bavetta, Violet Palmer, and Eli Rowe. And these teams just played a couple of days ago on Saturday. It was a thriller, guys, and the Spurs won it 80-79 as Tim Duncan made a shot with 7 seconds left, John.
Well, yes, sir, that definitely has to be something that has to stop now, because when you look at the Spurs, they want to get in the paint, Dick. If it's not Parker, it's Duncan. One of the things that the Grizzlies have to do is maintain the paint.
Well, I think really the key is going to come down to the little things. It was a one-point ball game in the favor of the Spurs, but it's going to be second shots and the basics of free throws. Both teams are struggling from the free throw line. You know, Pau Gasol going 4 for 13. He's going to have to do better here at home.
The Grizzlies, in fact, Reggie, were 10 of 20 from the line, but you're right. The two teams bring up the rear in free throw shooting. But if you want to talk about defense, you're looking at the number 1 and 2 scoring defensive teams in the league, with Memphis actually number 1, and driving in with the first basket of the game, Pau Gasol. And everyone with the big campaign for the All-Star vote coming up. Vote now, vote Pau. T-shirts all around Memphis.
We got our shirts in our room, so.
Pau's a hard guard, because just what he did. He went on the outside, and Tim had to guard him. Most centers have difficulty laterally moving. As you look at this right now, we talk about him as being a center forward, but he's got great forward moves. The lateral movement, getting to the basket and making the dunk, is always a difficult defend for a center.
Eddie Jones committing the foul. And Bruce Bowen will inbound. There is Eddie Jones, 34 years old, traded from Miami, and he has been a tremendous stabilizing influence for Mike Fratello. Lorenzen Wright trying to deny Duncan. Duncan isolated. Now the double team comes over with Jackson. Bowen blocked by Gasol.
And that way the 24-second clock goes off as well. You know, you never really see big forward centers coming out contesting shots right there, and it's somewhat the international players that can adapt that way. He comes out here, forces Bruce Bowen to take a contested three-point shot, gets the block shot, and expired 24-second clock.
Next time you expect a little ball fake there, Reggie, and a penetration to the basket.
So Bobby Jackson, the point guard, Damon Stoudemire with season-ending knee injury, and so Jackson, the veteran, taking over, and not really a pure point guard. Jones cutting through and misses inside, but the offensive rebound by Lorenzen Wright, and the Grizzlies maintain possession. Here's Jones going around Duncan and goes up, and they're going to call the offensive foul against Eddie Jones. Second foul against Eddie Jones, and we're less than 2 minutes into this game.
Well, the significance of that is that they depend so much on Jones for his leadership as well as for his ability to play on the floor. You can't afford to not have him on the floor, particularly early.
And Reggie, this is a big concern as Jones goes to the bench. Mike Miller replaces him, is the depth situation, because the backup point guard that normally would be Antonio Burks is out with a stomach ailment, so this team is thin to begin with.
Well, and also for Eddie Jones, scoring-wise, it's going to hurt because he didn't really find a rhythm. But Mike Miller's been playing great as of late, so there won't be a big drop-off of point-wise, but they're going to be thin, especially in that backcourt with Damon Stoudemire out for the year.
Steal by Ginobili. Miller in front, and the foul. So Miller picks up the foul after coming into the game and argues with Dick Bavetta to no avail.
Well, he's probably thinking all he did was really jump with Manu and contest the shot. He just wanted to know, did he get him with the body? Did he get him on the wrist? As the replay is shown again in the FedEx Forum.
So 3 quick fouls against the Grizzlies, and Manu Ginobili hitting the first free throw. Ginobili has had his injury problems. As you know, he missed 10 games with a foot injury, came off the bench for 8, and then started his first game on Saturday and led the Spurs with 20 points. More important, had 7 assists as a playmaker. They need his energy. There's Michael Finley, who had started in Ginobili's absence. 1 out of 2 from the line for Manu Ginobili.
Parker and Jackson matchup is something that we need to keep an eye on too, because I think it's going to be very important for Jackson to be able to keep Parker from doing the penetration that he loves to do.
How Gasol works his way in and the basket, and that is absolutely right, John, because that is going to be the chief responsibility of Jackson tonight.
Well, you know, it's funny on that move right there by Powell. Tim Duncan started out on the first play of the game against a dunk, and then Rasho moves over to him. Rasho is not quick enough to guard Powell Gasol down low. Rasho right there returns the favor on Powell down low. So some key matchups going to be tonight. The big guys are really going to have to force each other out a little bit further on the court.
And a foul is called against Rasho Nesterovic. Greg Popovich very pleased with Rasho Nesterovic's performance. They don't ask much from him. Can hit the open jumper, getting the rebounds, but you'll see more playing time from Nazi Muhammad, who got off to a slow start. He's the backup, actually finished the year as the starting point guard. Mike Miller with a 2, and Mike Miller red hot. People talking about him as a possible strong six-man candidate. And coming off the franchise's first triple-double against Sacramento earlier this month.
Well, that's one of the things that the Spurs have to do against this Grizzlies team. They have to get out and defend against those threes.
Backdoor by Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan fouled him all the way. And nearly 3 minutes gone by in this game, and the Grizzlies and the Spurs tied. Actually, Grizzlies lead 6-5.
And you expect some team defense in that instance. You know, guys going in for a back door, you got to get help from weak side people on that.
Well, also Bobby Jackson has to do a better job of
blocked by Rasho Nesterovic and taken down by Parker. It was well executed up until the block with the pick and roll. Rasho open, pick closed up by Gasol. Ginobili bangs it in. Manu Ginobili with the basket, and it's 7-6 Spurs.
Penetration is too easy. Definitely the Grizzlies have to do something to give some support to close the lane, force them to take the shots outside.
Staying with Miller is Bruce Bowen, one of the defensive aces in the NBA. Nesterovic is ready to pick him up, and Gasol misses from outside. Ginobili with the rebound. The Spurs like to push it up. They are not a walk-it-up team, and Mike Fratello saying that we're going to have to get some easy baskets that way as well tonight.
Well, if they're going to get easy baskets, they certainly have to be a little bit better on defense. You can't get them by letting the Spurs score.
And Parker's tied up. You knew it was going to happen. 3 guys around him, and Tony couldn't find anyone.
Well, it's funny because Tony had a wide-open 15-footer and decided to drive into the paint. You know, he's going to have to start knocking down this shot because come playoff time, teams are going to start giving him that jump shot. You know, that paint is not always going to be open. Case in point, just the other night against Detroit. Detroit played everyone straight up and made them try to make those outside jump shots.
So Lorenz and Wright will be jumping against Tony Parker, easily won by the Grizzlies.
And anytime you have a guard in the NBA that's scoring the most points in the paint, you got to make him pay for it. You got to turn this guy into a jump shooter.
Spurs lead the Grizzlies by 1. 7.5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. First of a doubleheader, the Heat and the Lakers coming up next. Miller missing the 3, and Wright picks it up, no basket, and the foul is called as Tim Duncan hits the floor. Remember, Duncan has been nursing a foot injury. It's a plantar fasciitis, which is not going to go totally away. It's about 85-90% on that play. Was fouled by Shane Battier.
One of the reasons why Paul has such a advantage because he has so outside shooters standing on the three-point line, takes away the help, so he's able to take advantage of the lack of mobility of a big guy that may be guarding him.
Ginobili over Miller, way off for 3, and the air ball gives the ball back to Memphis.
I think he kind of got caught in between right there. He really wanted to take the ball off the dribble right there, but he didn't think Mike was going to close out enough to him, and kind of got caught in that in-between stage.
Miller looking inside for Battier, and Ginobili has him there. There was a mismatch inside, and Gasol was trying to find him, and Ginobili fouls Shane Battier inside. And right now, let's welcome Cheryl Miller. More on Tim Duncan, Cheryl.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dick. Just to follow up, like you said, on Tim Duncan. Last month, he had a slight injection in his right foot because of that plantar fasciitis. Unfortunately, the pain has moved to his heel, making planting his foot and changing direction very difficult. Coach Popovich said Duncan is operating around 85-90%, and over the next month and a half, they'll really have to keep an eye on his minutes. Reggie, you've struggled with this injury.
Yeah, I've had it my whole career, and it doesn't matter how many injections you get. It's really what you do after the injections. I had a chance. I usually got them right before the All-Star break, and you had like 4 or 5 days to rest, but it seems like he's only had a day or two to kind of rest, and he's been back out on the court.
And, you know, interestingly enough, he has started every game this year, and even in the recent past, he has missed games because of knee problems much earlier than this. So he has the foot problem, but he's been a warrior out there. As Nazr Mohammed comes into the game, replacing Rasho Nesterovic. 10 on the shot clock for San Antonio. Ginobili going down low, and the kick ball, so 14 seconds go on the clock for the Spurs.
Well, when you look at these two teams, they're two opposite strategies offensively. The Spurs are constantly probing with their first priority of trying to get the ball in. The Grizzlies are probing to try to bait you into getting a three-point outside shot.
And here is the ball knocked away. Ginobili picks it up. Parker with a fake on Pau Gasol, feeding Nazr Mohammed. Tough defense inside by the Grizzlies. That's what they're known for, and they showed it there.
And even with the collapsing defense, Reggie, they still went inside.
And another foul called against Battier. It'll be his second, so Eddie Jones and Shane Battier picking up too early, and so Battier is going to have to come out of the game. He'll be replaced by Dante Jones, and Reggie, Mike Fratello's had to go into his bench a lot earlier than he anticipated.
Well, remember when we talked to him before the game, he was shaking his head because his bench, you know, he really didn't know what he was going to get out of him. Now he's stretching it going down to Dante Jones, who has played great for him early on, but hasn't gotten a lot of minutes as of late.
Great feed by Nazr Mohammed to Tim Duncan inside. He thread the needle on the bounce pass, and the Spurs lead the Grizzlies 9-8. It's been a seesaw game here in the first quarter. Under 6 minutes to go. Jackson goes in, knocked away. Parker or Duncan might have gotten a piece of it. So here again comes San Antonio, and Parker will slow it down. The Spurs are 10-7 away from the AT&T Center in San Antonio as Parker, with a deke, goes baseline and scores.
Well, that's just terrible defense because almost every possession that you come down court, the Spurs have been probing to get in. Even, Reggie, when the defense has collapsed, they still went inside.
So with 5:33 remaining in the first quarter, Mike Fratello reason to be a little upset with all the fouls, and the Spurs lead his Memphis Grizzlies 11-8. And welcome back to Memphis at the FedEx Forum. The Spurs leading the Grizzlies 11-8 in the first quarter. Fans, be sure to participate in tonight's text message question. Who do you think will win the Southwest Division? San Antonio, Dallas, or Memphis? Text A, B, or C to 82222. And those are the rules. And interested to know what you guys feel. It's a very tight race thus far, with the Spurs one game up over Dallas. Avery Johnson, the former Spurs point guard, doing a great job. This is his first full year. And Memphis right behind.
We saw pressure just now by the Spurs. I think they realize the lack of depth of the Grizzlies, and they're forcing them to play faster.
Oh, and it's banged up there by Wright, out of bounds. And last touch by the Spurs. Spurs come in the game, as we said, not only first in field goal defense, but second in shooting. That's a pretty good combination.
Well, that's a good job on rotating defense by Nazr Mohammed right there, making Powell change that shot to his left hand.
And usually if you have good field goal defense, it means you're getting out, Reggie, getting some fast break baskets, and they've got those big fellas in the back. That doesn't hurt your field goal defense either.
No, not at all.
Thrown away, and so the Spurs on the fourth turnover by the Grizzlies will have the ball. The Spurs are shooting 56% from the field, and most of those have been on layups.
And layups sometimes, Dick, against a set defense, and that's a bad sign. That's what Mike is very upset about. I think that's one of the reasons the timeout came.
Michael Finley has come in off of the timeout. Tony Parker hits from outside, and it's 13-8. Now Parker has had to handle a lot of the scoring, Reggie, with Ginobili off the bench, but now they'd like him to be a playmaker again.
Well, especially with Ginobili back in the game, you definitely want the first two looks to go to Tim Duncan as well as Manu. So if he can knock down that jump shot, that's obviously going to set up everything, especially his penetration game.
Nazi Muhammad with the holding foul, his first personal foul, and the third team foul against the Spurs. So each team with 3 team fouls with 4:40 remaining in the first. Gasol with a turnaround, and he misses a left-hander. That one he should have made.
Again, he's a very hard guard for a center because he squares up to the basket rather than plays mostly with his back to the basket.
And Pau Gasol gets knocked down, and they're going to call the offensive foul. And Tim Duncan gets charged with it.
Well, this is what you want. You want a front, but you're going to try to get back around as quick as possible right there. Timmy kind of extends the left arm right there with the offensive foul right there as Powell was trying to fight to get back in front, Coach. And, you know, when two big guys are battling like that, it can go either way.
Well, it also looks like he went to the Reggie Miller School of Flopping, too.
Hey.
Reggie flop? I learned it from Cheryl, I know that.
Well, Mike Miller just fell down but maintained possession. And here is Gasol with the turnaround, and that doesn't go. And the follow-up is there by Lorenzen Wright. So that is only the second field goal by the Grizzlies in the last 5 minutes. And it cuts the lead now to 3.
And the important thing is where they got that field goal. They got it in the paint, a follow-up, an inside basket, which they're unable to do because of the size of the Spurs.
Miller guarding Bowen close. He's a tough three-point shooter and traveling call against Nazi Muhammad. So on the turnover, the Grizzlies coming back down by 3. And Greg Popovich, who had told us before the game that his team is kind of floated right now in the season. He says we may not be as good as our record of 28-9, which is only 1 game less than their all-time best after 37 games. But he sees some areas they can improve on.
I'd always like to see some areas I'm improving on while I'm winning.
Pau Gasol on the pick and roll from Bobby Jackson. So Gasol now with 6 points. He and Tony Parker are the game-high scorers.
And they're looking around the Spurs at each other like, where's the help defense? I think Timmy's saying that he was held by Lorenzen Wright.
And the runner by Parker, contact was made. So Tony Parker with now 4 for 4 from the field for 8 points.
Too easy. Too easy.
Park Johnson going around Parker. Bobby Jackson with a spin move. Boy, he was quick on that against a quick guy.
And Popovich is livid right now. He's like, where is all our help defense at?
We haven't seen it in the last 3 baskets by the Memphis Grizzlies.
Here's a good pick and roll right here. Powell, 1 dribble and not even a black shirt within the vicinity. Nice extension there by Pau Gasol.
Grizzlies have trimmed the Spurs lead to 1 with under 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Right now, let's check in with Cheryl Miller for tonight's Lincoln Zephyrs sideline report.
Well, thanks a lot, Dick. Obviously, it being Dr. Martin Luther King Day, Reggie and I had the honor and a brief tour of the National Civil Rights Museum. And Reggie, I'm sure that you'll agree, a whole lot of history and not enough time to view it all. It was completely overwhelming.
Well, you know, you mentioned it right there, Cheryl. It doesn't matter how much time we would have had. And as much as you think you know about the Civil Rights Movement, walking into this museum, we were so far blown away. Just to have the opportunity to actually go on the same bus that Rosa Parks was on and to have the brief history lesson and understand what went on, it was truly an unbelievable event for you and I.
And Reggie, you have to agree with me as well. Sitting right next to you, John Thompson. What better history lesson and leader than this guy? Coach, it's always a pleasure working with you.
What are you calling me, Father Time or what?
Basically.
You know what you are, John?
Living history, Coach. I'm living history.
John, you're the professor. Finley hitting a 3. Michael Finley with a 3-point field goal And the Spurs lead 18-14. Each team has all but one of their field goals in the paint. That was the second basket by San Antonio outside the paint. 2:20 to go inside. Fighting his way in is Mike Miller.
Well, and you can see what Mike has told the Grizzlies to do. Rather than come down and be quick on the trigger outside, they're probing now, running the offense, trying to get some inside baskets. And we got to remember that Tim Duncan is not in the game right now, and he's a shot blocker.
Robert Horry has replaced him, John. So Duncan is on the bench right now, having scored 2 points and 1 rebound. And Manu Ginobili returns to the game, replacing Bruce Bowen. Bowen didn't score, but that is just a luxury for the Spurs if he does get points. He's in there for the defensive work. Under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Miller against Finley, who lost his footing. The fall away, and Finley off to a hot start, hitting 5 straight points and a 4-point San Antonio lead.
And I think this is the role that he's going to be most accustomed to on this team. Coming off the bench, 25 at the most 30 minutes, and looking really for his offense, being that spark off the bench.
Well, and that's the thing that's great. He's not shy when he comes in the game. You want the guy to be aggressive and have an impact when he comes in the game without being foolish.
And the pushing foul on Pau Gasol by Nazr Mohammed, his second foul, and that's exactly what the Spurs needed. They needed scoring off the bench in both the backup point guard spot in Nick Van Exel, who we haven't seen yet in this game, and in Michael Finley. So they needed offense, not so much defense off the bench.
Well, I understand Pop's decision by bringing off Manu when he first came back from his injuries. His timing was off. But once he got his timing, he needs to be in the lineup.
Great block by Nazr Mohammed and a save by Tony Parker. Bobby Jackson staying with Tony Parker, who has 8 points thus far. Trying to get free. Johnson doing a good job, and Nazr Mohammed, that's what Popovich wants from Tony Parker, that kind of playmaking work.
See what happens when you make an outside shot. Everyone collapses. You can get into the paint. You draw defenses, and you make easy plays.
Spurs now at 71% from the field, and their biggest lead right now of 6 points. Here's Pau Gasol on the baseline beating Mohammed. Gasol now has 8.
See, and he did it again, Reggie. That's the thing that's so difficult. I have to keep saying it for any center to guard a player who turns and squares up on him. They're so accustomed to guarding the guy from the back.
Ginobili open for 3, and he's got it. Manu Ginobili with his second, or that's the Spurs' second 3-point basket, his first, and a 7-point lead. Largest of the game now for San Antonio.
Penetration, kick out. Penetration, kick out.
Here's Gasol inside, and let's see if Horry got a hand on him before the shot. And that would be, and it is on Robert Horry, his first, and a shooting situation for Pau Gasol. Right now, let's check in with Ernie Johnson in our studio in Atlanta. Ernie?
All right, thank you very much, Dick. I think that Anthony Johnson would like to have that play back. He saves it for Indiana, but right into the hands of Vince Carter. The Nets snapped their 3-game losing streak, 97-92 this afternoon, and Detroit got off to a slow start at home against Boston, but then Rasheed Wallace scored 18 points in the third quarter, had 23 on the day, and they win 94-84 and sweep the season series from the Celtics. Dick?
All right, Ernie, thank you very much. And Greg Popovich, before the game, who's been a victim of 2 Piston wins both by 15 points, says it's clear right now that Detroit's the strength of this NBA season.
Well, they're definitely the team to beat this year. You know, we know that the champs are the San Antonio Spurs, but really what Detroit did to them on the 2 occasions in less than a month apart really has shown the difference between the champs and the Detroit Pistons.
Manu Ginobili getting the last basket, and you're absolutely right. So Parker and Ginobili, the starting backcourt, each with 8 points. And Pau Gasol leading all scorers with 9. But right now, you'd have to say Detroit is the strength of the NBA. A 27-19 lead on the strength of 75% shooting by the best shooting team in the league, the Black and Silver. Memphis, the King Junior Day celebration. Want to remind you as we start the second quarter to stay with us for the halftime ceremony. Well, 2 awards, the National Civil Rights Museum Sports Legacy Award, Bill Russell, the national honoree, and Manny Jackson, the owner of the Globetrotters, the international honoree, and Morgan Freeman will be the public address announcer. Robert Horry misses the first shot to start the second quarter. And into the game for the first time, Anthony Roberson, who has only played in a handful of games this year, and with Antonio Burks out of action now, forced to place him as second point guard. Good shooter, but Roberson, a rookie from the University of Florida, really thrown into the fire tonight, Rick.
Yeah, he's more of a shooting guard that's been trying to be converted to a point guard. And especially with Antonio Burks being out with somewhat of a viral infection and Damon Stoudemire out for the season, the Grizzlies are really thin at the point guard position. So it's really how much Coach Fratello can rest Bobby Jackson and get him back on the floor is really going to be key tonight.
Another rookie, Hakeem Warwick, who has contributed off the bench. Outstanding athleticism. Committing that last foul, and there is Finley with a turnaround over Miller, misses, and Roberson gets the rebound. So Roberson is in there with Miller, Pau Gasol, along with Hakeem Warwick and Dante Jones for Memphis in white. Robert Horry with Michael Finley, Nick Van Exel in the game for the first time, Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan returning for the Spurs. Jones with a reverse layup, pretty play by Dante Jones in his third year out of Duke.
Well, and that was good simply because of the fact that Tim Duncan is back in the game, and usually when he comes in the game, the Grizzlies become more of a perimeter shooting team.
Duncan hit his only shot, now 1 for 2 from the field and 2 points. And here come the Grizzlies, 27-21, 6-point lead early in the second as Duncan knocks it out of bounds.
Well, and looking at this, Jones is penetrating right to the basket. You can see Tim Duncan is there. Jones used the net to defend Tim Duncan from blocking his shot. You guys mentioned the substitutes. The Grizzlies substitutes are young also, not just deep, against experienced Spurs substitutes. When you look at Van Exel, you look at Finley and those guys, they're not just substitutes, they're quality, experienced substitutes.
They are. Tim Duncan picking up his second foul, sending Miller to the line.
Well, also, too, losing Damon Stoudemire was a big loss for Mike Fratello and the Grizzlies. Talking with Coach Fratello before the game, he said everyone's head pretty much went in their chest when they found out that he was lost for the season. It's that experience that they bring in practice, along with Eddie Jones, along with Bobby Jackson, that has really lifted this team to one of the fifth best record in the league.
Yeah, the 3 veteran guards, and you're absolutely right. And Eddie Jones, of course, has been tremendous, especially with the younger players. A wild 3 by Van Exel, but it's picked up by Duncan. 10 on the shot clock. Ginobili passes to Finley, and he's off the front rim, but Horry gets the offensive rebound.
Well, that's what you can't let happen if you're the Grizzlies. You let the penetration go, but you certainly can't let second shots.
And Hakeem Warwick hit with his second foul since coming in.
And he got him on the wrist right there. They always say hand is part of the ball, but when you slap down like that and the ball goes up, it's an automatic call for the officials. The ball must go down for them not to call that.
Reggie Miller, doggone near, knocked me out of my seat when Van Exel shot that wide left jump shot.
It's like a Mike Vanderjagt field goal at the end of the game to try to win in overtime. Turnaround field goal by Tim Duncan, his second of the game, and the Spurs are up by 6.
It's hard for you to see somebody miss that badly, isn't it?
That wide open is tough for me to see things like that. And we're going to get a call at halftime for Vanderjagt. You know that, right?
Van Exel getting the rebound. My phones are off. Manu Ginobili can't go baseline. Good defense by Miller. Horry, that's what he's known for. Misses the 3, but it nearly went in. Roberson getting the rebound.
And that possession is very good team defense by the Grizzlies because they shut off the penetration, which the Spurs have been doing.
And Ginobili picking up Roberson, trying to anticipate the pass. Now Gasol against Duncan. Dante Jones driving in. Horry comes over, and Jones hits the floor hard. And Robert Horry coming over. And they're going to call the foul against Duncan. Duncan gets hit with the foul, and that's 3 on him. A blow to the San Antonio Spurs in this game, as Duncan is appealing to the officials, saying, "What are you talking about?"
Well, it affects the play if he gets in foul trouble at both ends of the floor, defensively against the Grizzlies and offensively when the Spurs are trying to get the ball inside.
Well, Horry did his job as a good teammate. He raised his hand in a hurry, but he didn't get the foul. Duncan did.
He helped create an atmosphere. so that you are not limited to how good you are, how successful you can be. But you are a caretaker. And if you have any obligation, it is to the game that you play. So that 50 years, 100 years from now, there will be an NBA for 17, 18, 19-year-old kids to go to.
Bill Russell, in the conversation I had with him this afternoon, and he's just a very special man, as you know, Dick, and certainly you know, Reggie. And I think he's appealing to the young player today who he supports so much in talking to him about just leave a little bit for somebody else, just as it was left for you.
You know what I like about Bill Russell? He cuts through it all. He doesn't give you the cliche answer. He really gives you the hard answer, the heart, and what it's all about. It really cuts through so much.
Well, he provokes a lot of thought. Here on Martin Luther King's birthday, he stood up for a lot of things, too, while he was competing. Everybody talks about the championships and the rings that he had, but he obviously stood up and represented a heck of a lot more than just basketball.
One free throw by Dante Jones. And the Spurs lead is 5. Robert Horry to Nestarovic, who's come in for Duncan, who went out with 3 fouls, misses the turnaround layup.
And these are 2 layups that the Spurs have missed, point blank. Right there, Rasho misses a point blank layup. And before Tim picked up his 3rd foul, had a wide open. So these, you got to see and monitor if these layups are going to come back to haunt the Spurs.
Hakeem Warwick posting up against Robert Horry. And it falls off. Nestarovic getting the rebound.
See, and that's the advantage of not having Duncan in, because usually he's the second line of defense for the Spurs.
Nestarovic going inside, and again, that's 3 in a row. Van Exel with the steal. Nick Van Exel comes in and lays it up. And the Spurs looking for a spark. Obviously, you see Parker, Bowen, and Duncan, 3 starters on the bench, and maybe Nick Van Exel can give it to him.
And that's a rookie mistake right there. Hakeem Warwick, you secure the rebound and you find your point guard. You don't lazily throw the ball out. Nick Van Exel did a good job of stealing the basketball right there.
And Nestarovic is shooting the ball as if Bill Russell is standing behind him rather than taking his time and making the shot.
Warwick misses the turnaround against Horry. So there's a good deal of inexperience on the floor right now for the Memphis Grizzlies. And a lot of experience on the court for the Spurs. Finley misses from outside. Gasol getting the rebound, and a loose ball foul will be called against Rasho Nestarovic. That'll be his 2nd.
You see right here a lazy pass by the rookie Hakeem Warwick. He just thought he was just going to give it to Roberson right there, but the crafty veteran Nick Van Exel, laying in the weeds, as they say, comes up with the steals. But, you know, Dick, you talked about the experience versus the inexperience of the Grizzlies. The Spurs aren't taking advantage of it.
No, they're not.
You know, when you have a young team out here, you got to pound the ball inside or go to work on this younger team, and the Spurs aren't doing this, which surprises me for a championship team.
Eddie Jones coming back into the game along with Lorenzen Wright. So Wright, Eddie Jones, Dante Jones, along with young Roberson, the rookie from Florida, and Shane Battier. Pau Gasol on the bench with 9. Miller with 6 are the 2 leading scorers for the Memphis Grizzlies, who are shooting just a bit above 40%. Battier feeding Lorenzen Wright. Rebound by Bowen.
And you would like to see Shane Battier take that one all the way to the basket. He had Umberto beat. He should have taken it all the way to the basket instead of giving it up. And
Nick Van Exel hit his 2nd field goal, and a timeout called by Mike Fratello. So the Spurs, who shot 75% in the first quarter, 3 for 12 so far in the second. But the Spurs have opened up their biggest lead of the game, 9 points. We'll take a timeout with just under 7 minutes to go in the half. And welcome back to the FedEx Forum here in Memphis, Tennessee. And in tonight's Toyota Moving Forward, we examine the Western Conference All-Star candidates at the forward position, and we have a bundle.
And that's a log jam right there. And you can make a case, obviously, for all those players right there. I think Tracy McGrady and Tim Duncan will be voted in. But Pau Gasol, in my eyes, he makes the All-Star team. Reason being is that not only is he a forward, but I think he can swing over and play center as well, Coach.
Well, it reminds me of when you're a kid, you go in the candy store, you say, I want one of these, one of these, one of these, and all of them are good.
They're all good. They also are the numbers for Pau Gasol, and pretty impressive and a fine all-around game for Gasol.
Well, with the injuries to Yao Ming, not knowing if he's going to play because he will be voted in, as well as Marcus Camby. the center spot is going to be very thin, and Powell can play center. You know, you only got Shaq to go against in the East. He's the only really big center, so I think Powell will get in because of the play of the Grizzlies.
Mike Miller with a drive to the basket. 8 points for Mike Miller.
You know, Reggie mentioned earlier about the Spurs not reading and identifying the inexperience. One of the things that the Grizzlies have done is identified the fact that the shot blocker is gone. They're now starting to go to the basket.
Fabricio Oberto on the kick ball. There'll be 14 seconds on the clock. Fabricio Oberto, the rookie from Argentina who played with Manu Ginobili on the Olympic gold medal team. He's in the game right now. Cheryl.
Well, this morning I was able to sit down with Powell, and he said this season he's really tried to concentrate on being more aggressive offensively. He said he put on a little more weight. He understands offensively he has a huge responsibility. The offense is run through his hands, so he's really tried to take a stand as far as being challenged more by the coaching staff, right?
He's confident and comfortable. Those two things have made a big difference for him, Cheryl.
Well, I'm going to tell you what really has helped him out. 4.3 assists. Only Lamar Odom and Kevin Garnett lead the forwards in the West for assists. So 4.3 assists for a 6'11 guy is pretty impressive. That definitely gets my vote.
Battier committing or driving to the basket, and Nesterovic committing his third foul. So Duncan and Nesterovic each with 3 fouls. And Battier will go to the line. So Gasol leads the team in assists, and Tim Duncan is second on assists for the San Antonio Spurs. So here is Battier. Gasol on the bench right now, and the Grizzlies trying to make a run. Battier makes the first. Well, tomorrow night on NBA TV, Sacramento hosts Phoenix. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. and on Wednesday on ESPN, it's Cleveland at Denver. Coverage for that game begins at 9 p.m. Eastern.
You know, Dick, I've never seen a shooter in my life that was not impressed by the assist record of somebody else. And Reggie sure didn't disappoint me just now.
That's classic.
You always have to know where the ball's going to be coming from. Lamar Jackson,
love the assist guys.
Pau Gasol, you know where you go. You know where the guys are going to get you the ball.
Bobby Jackson, he has the ball right now, picked up by Van Exel. And right now they have Parker on Miller. They like to switch that. Nearly a turnover. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And trying to post up. Bowen is against Battier. Jackson will fire it off. Off-balance shot. 2-point attempt. Rebound by Oberto. So let me keep score right now. Right now, John Thompson said Reggie flops. And then he says Reggie likes guys who have a lot of assists. I hope there's another one coming in.
And Cheryl would defend me on all of them.
I'm sure she would.
How do you think that lasted so long, Coach? 18 years.
Van Exel missing a 3 and saved nicely by Eddie Jones.
You know, the team defense, Reggie, has improved at the Spurs in terms of cutting off the middle because they realize the shot blocker is not there any longer.
Speaking of block, that was a blocking foul. Bobby Jackson driving in. It's on Bruce Bowen.
Well, when you're looking at this, Bobby Jackson is going, but you see the help coming over. That has to happen when Tim Duncan is not there. They're so accustomed to that two-layered shot-blocking defense that they have with mostly 2 big post guys.
And Pau Gasol comes into the game. Tim Duncan, of course, on the bench with 3 fouls. Gasol is in there, and Lorenzen Wright goes to the bench. So right now, Jackson is with Battier, Gasol, Mike Miller, and Eddie Jones. And for the Spurs, they have Oberto as their big man right now with Van Exel, Parker, Ginobili, and Bowen. So a small team out there for San Antonio Reds.
Well, it's funny because Pop said that Oberto as well as Ribery were going to be the odd men out. You see Oberto in the game right now because of the foul trouble to Tim Duncan.
Bowen leaving it for Van Exel. Battier all over him. Tough basket. And a good one by Van Exel, who has 6 points off the bench. So Mohamed, Van Exel, and Finley have 13 points off the bench. Talk about 3 vets.
And 3 quality vets. You know, you're talking about 3 guys who have accepted their role, and that's a tribute to Pop.
Spurs lead by 6, and that would have counted had it gone. Battier is fouled and will go to the line, and Nick Van Exel will be called for the personal foul. The Spurs are already in the penalty. And Battier going to the free throw line.
And that was a good cut down the lane by Shane Battier and circled back because Manu came off of Shane from the cut, and Shane did a good job of staying underneath the basket for the shot.
Coming up next, the Heat and the Lakers. Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant. What an entertainer Kobe Bryant has been in his performance and scoring this season.
Well, and everybody talks about his scoring, which obviously he can do. But I admire the fact that he plays the game so hard at both ends of the floor.
Yes. Want to remind you also to tune in to TNT's Overtime on NBA.com. There was a pushing foul by Eddie Jones, so 3 on Eddie Jones. So there's a guy who has not scored yet in the game, and they count on him for the perimeter and three-point shooting. Jones has 3.
Eddie Jones is close probably here to getting a technical foul because he's understanding what do I have to do to stay on the court. You know, you're going to call 2 silly fouls on me in the first minute and a half of the game, and then you call a touch foul, knowing the referees know that he has 2 fouls as well, too. He's a veteran player. You got to let a little bit slide.
Dante Jones replaces him, and the turnover will turn the ball over to Memphis.
I can tell you what he has to do to stay on the court. The first thing to start with shutting up, because they're going to send him to the locker room if he continues to do what he's doing now.
So we have 3 players with 3 fouls, Duncan and Estarovich for the Spurs, and Eddie Jones with 3. Eddie Jones has only played 4 minutes of this game thus far, and there's a team that's not deep to begin with. That's a problem. Pau Gasol going in and a foul, and Nazr Mohammed appealing to Eli Rowe, and the foul will be against Nazr, his 3rd. So 3 big men have 3 fouls each for the Spurs. Duncan, Estarovich, and Mohammed, with Duncan being the key man, of course.
What makes fouls so tough, Coach, and we talked about this before during the timeout, is when he goes middle and spins, he can score with either hand. And that's what makes it tough on Nazr as well as Tim Duncan to defend, because you don't know which hand he's going to shoot with.
Well, and he's so doggone confident. You're so right, Reggie, in that he's so confident in coming at you. His body radiates confidence. You see some big guys when they turn their face and go, they're so reluctant. He's coming at you in a very positive way.
11 points for Pau Gasol, who's the first player in the game to hit double figures. Duncan on the bench with 4 points and 3 personals. And there's the free throw story. Spurs have only gone on the line twice tonight. 3:20 remaining. And Nazr Mohammed waited a bit and goes up in the foul. Looked like he might have traveled as the Grizzlies have come back to within 3 points. And the crowd not at all enamored with that foul called. And it will be against Pau Gasol, his first.
And I got to kind of agree with him. It looks like he kind of dragged that left foot right there. And it looks like he initiated the contact into Shane Battier right there. So it looked like it was a good block up the top, but I guess they got him down low with the body.
So Nazr Mohammed on the free throw line. At the end of the year and through the playoffs, he was the starting center for the San Antonio Spurs. Came over in the trade for a very popular Malik Rose with the New York Knicks. Finished, but didn't really have much of training camp because Mohammed had some personal problems at home, and so did not really get off on the right foot as far as being in condition to start the year, and you're going to see his playing time increase.
Well, and I think that's the thing that's going to be very interesting to watch after the All-Star break with this team. When you factor in the experience they have, guys that have been injured and guys that are going to be a lot better after the All-Star break. It'll be interesting to see how they challenge those other 2 teams that you had on the board.
And, of course, the Spurs have always been a team that kind of lulled around a bit until after the All-Star break. Knew when to turn the Jets on to get ready for the second season.
Well, it's funny, you say turn the Jets on. They usually start to turn it on that long rodeo trip that they usually have every year when the rodeo comes to San Antonio. And that's getting ready to come up, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that's when you're going to see the real San Antonio Spurs really start to get it in gear.
Over and back called. No one on the Spurs had touched the ball. So on the violation, San Antonio will get the ball. Memphis stays in there, down by 5 with under 3 minutes to go in the half. Well, when February comes around and the rodeo comes to the AT&T Center in San Antonio, the Spurs take off, but they do well. 6-1 last year. Year before, that is. 5-2 last year. And this season, they have 8 games in 22 days, right around overlapping the All-Star break.
And, you know, it's funny because out of those 8 games, 5 of those 8 teams are going to be against teams that are going to be in the playoffs this year. Utah, New Jersey, Indiana, Cleveland, and Philly. So, you know, it's going to be a tough road for this team, especially when they're trying to, you know, gear back into shape. Tim Duncan is still going to be hurt from plantar fasciitis. Manu's trying to get healthy. So it's going to be a good testing point for these Spurs.
There's the Western Conference standing. You see Memphis with their record right now. They actually have the 4th best record, but because the division winner would get the higher seed, Memphis would be the 5th seed in the playoffs right now.
And you see Minnesota, who's 18-17, as well as Utah. They're half a game behind, so there's going to be a whoever wins that division that goes west.
What I like is that you become a good producer. You know, you mentioned the rodeo road trip, and sure enough, Scott Cockrell puts it up as soon as we get to the next break. You're really learning fast, my friend.
A jack of all trades.
Here is Bowen with the runner, and it will drop. Bruce Bowen with his first points of the game, and a 7-point lead for the Spurs. Bobby Jackson, along with Mike Miller, Dante Jones, Pau Gasol, and Shane Battier for the Grizzlies. And there is Bowen, pesky as he is on defense against Miller, feeding Gasol, who drives to the basket and is fouled. And we want to remind everyone at halftime, very special ceremony coming up as we have 2 awards on the court. Morgan Freeman will be the Master of Ceremonies, the National Civil Rights Museum Sports Legacy Award, which pays tribute to athletes who have made significant contributions to civil and human rights and have laid the foundation for the future, as Bill Russell talked to John Thompson about. Bill will get the national award, and Manny Jackson, the Globetrotters owner and CEO, the international honoree. And there is Morgan Freeman. The personal foul was called against Manu Ginobili, his 2nd. And the free throws by Gasol gives him 13 points.
As experienced as the Spurs are, you can see the impact that Tim Duncan has on the game when he's not in the game. Even the body language of the Grizzlies has improved.
Jackson driving in with 2 minutes remaining in the half. Gasol guarded by Nazi Muhammad, working his way in, and Muhammad getting the rebound. Right now, the Spurs on defense. It's Parker and Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, Nazi Muhammad, and Nick Van Exel going with 3 guards, and one of them, Parker, slices in. And when you look, and we talked about how the Spurs #1 in points in the paint, it's because of Duncan when he's in the game down low, and Parker with the lay-ins.
Well, Parker leads the league in points in the paint, and that's very unusual for a guard. No guard has ever led the league with points in the paint, so he's looking to be a first.
The thing that's most amazing about what Tony does, he does it against a set defense. He's not getting those layups just in transition.
Dante Jones with the basket and the foul. And it's on Tony Parker, his first, and a chance for the 3-point play.
Well, Dante Jones has done a great job of attacking the defense. You know, shorthanded, the Grizzlies are coming off the bench and giving them a boost offensively.
And you say, where is Tim Duncan? Because that's what you need in the middle of it.
Yeah, he's been on the bench for quite a while, as Duncan has played only 12 minutes of his game. That's about just about half of it. And the follow by Battier on the miss. And Greg Popovich has to be very upset of the lack of hustle by the Spurs.
And also the lack of Tim Duncan, because that's where they miss him.
Right.
They're not going to get those second shots. They're not going to penetrate as much as they're penetrating with Duncan in there.
Well, last time I checked, Nazi Muhammad was 6'10", 6'11". Why can't he get a rebound, coach? He's out there.
Meanwhile, Nazi Muhammad fouled by Dante Jones. And we'll go to the line. Again, coming up, the T-Mobile halftime report. Very special halftime ceremony live here. Oscar Award winner Morgan Freeman.
You know, I think Reggie brings up a very interesting point about Muhammad, because he is really more effective as a complementary center.
Yes.
Now he's got the burden of having to be out there and carry the weight himself. And that's not a knock on him, but he's very effective when Tim is in there. When Tim's not in there, it's much more difficult for him.
So interesting that the Grizzlies have a problem as far as the backcourt, as far as depth. And right now, because of the foul trouble for Duncan, Spurs have a problem with the front court.
Well, I talked about this at the Open, too. You know, the little things. The free throws missed on both ends. You know, and the Grizzlies get an offensive rebound and put it back in, but you know, both teams are shooting around 69% from the line, 28th and 29th. You know, for these teams, well, you know, we know that the Spurs are the champions. You know, champions got to make the free throws, especially down the stretch.
Nazi Muhammad misses the free throw. Well, the Spurs coming in 29th out of 30 teams in the NBA from the free throw line.
I think it would help to make your free throws when you're in your contract year, too, wouldn't it, Reggie?
Yeah, that's true.
Pau Gasol going backdoor from Mike Miller. And the Grizzlies trailed by only one. They were down by as many as 9 points in the second quarter on a 6-0 run. Nearly a half a minute remaining in the first half. Here's Parker going out to Bowen. No shot there. Van Exel, no shot there. 8 on the shot clock. Fires it up, forced it, and the rebound, and playing for the last shot to try to give the Grizzlies the lead. Memphis trying to match a franchise record for their 7th victory in a row at home, looking to take the lead on the last shot.
You have to get a little credit for recognizing who's on the floor and letting that dictate their offense.
And here's Gasol with the field goal with 1.5 seconds. Gasol with 17 points. And here is the final shot of the half. And that'll do it. So Greg Popovich, even though he has Tim Duncan on the bench with fouls, can't be pleased with the Spurs. Mike Fratello sees his Grizzlies make up a 9-point deficit. Pau Gasol with back-to-back dunks. And that's the story at halftime. Our score, the Grizzlies 42, the Spurs 41. Coming up live from Memphis, it's a special Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration.
On your feet, oh, on your feet, on your feet, on your feet, on your feet, a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder. I got something to tell you, something to tell you, something to tell you. I want about this song.
A stirring, thigh-slapping performance by the Grammy Award winners, Blind Boys of Alabama, during a terrific and memorable halftime ceremony. The Grizzlies lead the Spurs 42-41. And guys, Saturday night, Spurs won by 1 point. Right now, the Grizzlies are up by 1 point. Your thoughts so far, Reggie?
Well, it looks like we're headed to one of those games as well. But what I'm really surprised about is points in the paint. We knew what we were going to get from San Antonio Spurs, but the Grizzlies, 28 points in the paint to 22 by San Antonio, and only 1 3-point shot. So they're making a conscious effort to get into the paint and attack San Antonio the very same way they're doing to them.
Well, and I think it's indicative of them seeing where they had to place their emphasis. Reggie said that earlier, that once they noticed that Duncan was not in the game, they changed their whole game plan and started to attack inside. And that's a tribute to Mike identifying and getting them to do.
Right now, let's take a look at our Jeep game summary. And San Antonio out shooting the Grizzlies 50% to 44, hitting 18 of 36 from the field. But look at the free throws. The Grizzlies have gone to the line 11 more times than the Spurs. Points in the paint addressed by Reggie. Rebounding-wise, which is supposed to be a strength of the Spurs, not of the Grizzlies, and Memphis has an edge of 6 rebounds. Right now, let's check in with Cheryl Miller.
Well, Coach Popovich obviously not very happy with his team's performance in the first half. He said, Cheryl, our Achilles heel all season long has been finishing the quarter strong. He said the good teams do that. Defensively, we were god-awful, and offensively, we couldn't buy a basket. Sums it up, huh, guys?
Well, you talk about the good teams. They're the champions. You're talking about the good teams know how to finish. They are the champions. This is really no excuse for a veteran-led team like San Antonio not to be closing out quarters.
Well, that's exactly what Greg Popovich said. Not lackadaisical, but they're not playing the role of champions. You come and get us.
Well, and positioning. Don't pay any attention to any of that stuff Pop said. He's trying to position those guys and get them to make that home stretch run. And he's not going to be pleased with anything right now, or he's insane.
That's true. And as he said to us, well, we'll let them figure it out for a while, right?
Democracy breaks down, the dictator takes over.
Well, it's funny. He is a lot like, and they're both one and the same. Larry Brown and Greg Popovich. It's never really good enough. They're always expecting a little bit more from their players, and nothing's ever good enough.
And I believe they've won some championships.
A few, yes, they have between them.
You got to know, you guys talked about the rodeo. You also have to know when to put the whip to the horse, too.
And another foul before the shot. Lorenzen Wright picked up the first personal foul, and is shaken up now is Bobby Jackson.
And Tony Parker.
And Jackson and Parker looked like a collision there. Jackson, as you know, taking over the role for David Stoudemire, who's lost for the year. Here's how that happened.
Well, who says your head is not a lethal weapon right there? They kind of bumped heads right there, and Bobby Jackson got the worst of it.
Bowen misses a three. Bowen with Parker, Duncan, Nesterovich, and Ginobili. Duncan, of course, playing with 3 personal fouls. Bobby Jackson starting in the backcourt, along with Eddie Jones. Lorenzen Wright up front with Pau Gasol and Shane Battier.
And I'm really surprised at how many three-point shot attempts San Antonio is attempting. Right now, with Bowen just taking that one, they're 2 for 11. 11 three-point shots this early in the game is a lot for San Antonio, a team that's known for busting in the paint and getting easy point paints.
They are 8th in the league in three-point shooting percentage, but their percentage isn't high very much right now.
And the reason for that percentage is Tim Duncan, and he's exactly right when Reggie says that the early look has got to be inside so that the defense will collapse, and that opens up the outside shot.
Nesterovich picked up his 4th foul on that last whistle. And now the Spurs with the ball. Grizzlies by 1. Ginobili goes up, and he's fouled. And they're going to call the personal foul on Pau Gasol. It'll be his 2nd personal, and Manu Ginobili going to the line. Spurs have not gone to the line much so far tonight. 3 of 6. And Ginobili is 1 of 2. So only Nazr Mohammed and Manu Ginobili have gone to the free throw strike.
Well, you can't let the ball handlers split the double team in pick and rolls. And Manu is, if not one of the best shooting guards at splitting the pick and rolls, getting into the paint and getting to the foul line.
The thing that's so amazing, Reggie, is how well both Parker and Ginobili penetrate against the defense even after it's set.
Yeah. You would expect that in a fast break situation, but when you got 5 guys back,
you're in trouble if you got 5 guys back and the guards are going to the goal.
Well, this is the 2nd start for Manu Ginobili. After he came off the bench for 8 games, Michael Finley kept his starting role as the Spurs lost 4 of their 9 games that they have lost this year when Manu was out of there. Makes the near steal right here. That's the kind of energy he has. Bobby Jackson at the shot clock buzzer misfires on a 3. So the score's tied at 42. Minute and a half gone by, and only 1 point has been scored. Here's Duncan going up inside, and he's fouled as he challenged both Lorenzen Wright and Shane Battier.
And because Duncan is able to challenge, that will open up the three-point lanes for the Spurs to get outside shots.
Wright will go and be hit with his 2nd personal foul. And here is Duncan on the line. Duncan's first trip to the free throw stripe tonight is a good one. Want more inside the NBA? Catch it in the morning with TNT Overtime on NBA.com. Well, we played 1 minute and 38 seconds here of this 3rd quarter, and already the Grizzlies have committed 4 team fouls, so could be early bonus and penalty time for the Spurs. 1 out of 2 for Duncan. And now a foul called against San Antonio, Bruce Bowen. That's his 2nd.
Well, if I'm San Antonio, I'm encouraged. You got 10 minutes of bonus. Any touch foul, you're going to the line. With PJ Carlissimo wondering, didn't I teach these guys to shoot better free throws than this? 5 of 10, 50%.
That's why privacy of the mind is a wonderful thing. If you see the expression on PJ's face, you don't want to read his mind.
Well, they have Chip Englund on the staff now, and he is a shooting coach as Battier with the turnaround scores, and it's a Grizzly lead again, 44-43. New coach Chip Englund.
What those shooting coaches do, they teach good shooters how to shoot.
I always wondered that because Steve Kerr swore by Chip Englund.
Yes, he did.
But Steve was a shooter. So what does a shooter need a shooting coach for?
I've never seen a shooting coach teach an awful shooter to become a good shooter.
And Bobby Jackson going by Nesterovic. Pass by Wright, baseline, but a foul is called. Let's see if it's a foul or a violation, and it's a 3-second violation called against Memphis.
There's old Chip right there. No disrespect, Chip. Keep shooting those.
No
Yes, he
disrespect.
can.
No disrespect. You said this guy can't teach people. Parker gets 3 inside from Duncan. Tim Duncan with the assist. 6 for 6 from the field for Tony Parker. He has led the way as the Spurs shooting nearly 49% from the field. You want to make up to Chip right now, guys?
No,
I saw him shooting with Brent Barry earlier, but Brent is a shooter.
No, I want
to know who is he shooting with that can't shoot.
I want to be Reggie Miller's shooting coach.
Lorenzen Wright on the feed. Only his second field goal. And the Grizzlies lead by 1, 46-45. A little more than 3 minutes gone by here in the third quarter. Dick Stockton along with John Thompson, Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller as well. Nesterovic with the turnaround, and Nesterovic with his second field goal.
You know what is interesting about this game, fellas, too, is that the Grizzlies have forced the Spurs to play a half-court game offensively. They're not getting transition baskets off of their defense in this game.
They can play that way too and win.
You are absolutely correct, but they would prefer to do what they're doing right now. Get out, get down, and get an easy basket, which is not easy.
And you got to run with Bobby now. He had numbers.
Parker misses the 3, and the foul is called. Battier goes down, and Rasho Nesterovic, and
Rasho should be
foul on
happy.
Bowen. It'll be 3 fouls on Bruce Bowen as Battier got knocked down.
And Rasho should be very happy and very lucky right there that he didn't pick up his 5th, because it easily could have went on Rasho right there, knocking Shane to the floor. But the lesser of two evils, Bruce Bowen picking up the foul.
I've got to think right now, Reggie, that the Grizzlies love the pace of this game.
Well, at home, it fits them.
Obviously, yeah.
Wright in the lane and scores. Lorenzen Wright with the field goal, and the Grizzlies lead 48-47. This team has had success against the San Antonio Spurs. They have beaten the Spurs 4 straight times here at home. They have won the last 2 season series, winning 3 out of 4 games. Parker with the turnaround. He hasn't missed tonight, has he?
He just missed and got his own rebound and put it back in.
So 7 lead changes thus far in the third quarter, and the Grizzlies have won 7 of the last 11 against the Spurs, so they do match up well against the defending world champs. Here's Jones for 3. He's got it. Eddie Jones giving the Grizzlies their first 3-point field goal of the game and the first points for the veteran guard tonight.
Well, he got in early foul trouble, really didn't get a rhythm. They're going to need his offensive input as this game progresses.
Duncan coming back on the pick and spot up from Manu Ginobili. Tim Duncan now with 7 points, has played in only 17 minutes because of 3 fouls in the first half. Gasol against Nesterovic. That's the matchup. Changing hands and getting the lay-in, the back hook shot.
That's what makes him so tough, Coach. I thought he was coming through the middle with his right hand, and he spins baseline and shoots it with his left. That's what makes it so awkward to guard him.
19 for Pau Gasol. And Lorenzen Wright hitting Ginobili in the face. That'll be his 3rd personal foul. And so a tight game. Let's take a look at Pau Gasol's lefty hook.
There you go. He faces, turns his back to him, dribbles. You think he's going to the middle, turns baseline, and shoots a fadeaway left-handed hook shot off the glass. Very awkward for a big man. Did you used to play like that, Coach?
I think I could shoot a hook shot on the Starovich, though. I didn't want to say that. But
You just did.
that is not Bill Russell standing behind the ball. Trust me.
As we mentioned, both teams near the bottom of the line in free throw shooting. Manu Ginobili makes 1 out of 2, and it's a 53-52 Memphis lead. And a little more than half remaining in this third quarter. And the Grizzlies have been in the penalty for a long time.
And probably the only reason why Tim Duncan is not guarding him right now is because of the foul situation. But this kid can't guard him.
And the Starovich gets a piece of it. Shot clock running down, and a shot misses everything. And they're going to have the 24-second clock expire, and the Spurs will take over. By the way, Brent Barry, who has not played and has seen his playing time lessen with Finley playing more, seeing his first action right now here in the third quarter with 6:01.
But that's another great luxury because you got Barry, a very quality, experienced player coming off of the bench.
What did you say about Russell not?
He said something that wasn't very kind.
Bill Russell, like, I think he heard you with the block shot.
He put my foot right in my mouth for me, didn't he?
John had enough on you in the first half, Reggie, and he's
payback.
Changed his target now to Starovich. And a foul inside, and it'll be on Lorenzen Wright, picking up his 4th foul, and it's all shooting right now. Duncan will go to the line. We'll have a timeout. We have a good one going, the first of a doubleheader. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Day, and the Grizzlies are up by 1. Welcome back to Memphis, where the Grizzlies lead the Spurs 53-52. St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital is unlike any other pediatric treatment and research facility anywhere. Discoveries made at St. Jude have completely changed how the world treats children with cancer. Memphis Grizzlies players regularly visit the children at St. Jude's. And patient and family housing includes the Memphis Grizzlies House, St. Jude's on-campus hotel, named for Memphis Grizzlies, who contributed $5 million towards construction. Just another example of how the NBA cares. So Tim Duncan is on the free throw line in a 1-point lead and can give the Spurs the lead once again. Spurs led by 9 points in the second half, led throughout the game. And when Pau Gasol dunked it through, and with seconds left at the end of the first half, it was the first time the Grizzlies had led since they were up 8-7 early on. Right now, they're up by 1. Spurs shooting 51% from the field. The Grizzlies at 44.
Well, the Spurs right now are playing right into the hands of the Grizzlies. When you talk about the depth, the experience they have, the length of their bench, the pace of this game is very satisfactory as far as the Grizzlies are concerned. They've got to be elated with how the pace is going.
No question about it. And Duncan's free throws giving the Spurs the lead. You saw 2 of the starters, Starovich and Ginobili, on the bench. So Michael Finley has come back in. So it's Finley, Parker, Barry, along with Duncan and Robert Horry defending Battier with the windmill hook. And Shane Battier now with 9 points in the game, and Memphis regains the lead.
And Tony Parker got caught on the switch from Robert Horry. Shane Battier recognized that and took him into the post, but they got to do a better job on the pick and roll.
Jump ball, and Horry driving in, and Shane Battier hung in there with him and tied him up.
Well, that was a second choice. Horry was really trying to get the ball into Tim Duncan, but he couldn't find the correct passing angle. And as a result of it, he went to the basket. You can see now he's looking in, and then he had no choice. He went to the basket. I think he was probing for a foul, but he really wasn't able to get that.
You know, guys talked about points in the paint, an area where the NBA was leader of the Spurs. They have scored 45 points a game in the paint. Right now, the Grizzlies have outscored the Spurs by 8 in the lane.
Well, and I think that's when they changed their strategy. Right. When Tim went out of the game, they started to probe and started to get inside a lot.
Parker with a fake. Barry Good ball movement. Finley for three, and he's got it. Spurs with outstanding ball movement, and Michael Finley with his second three-pointer of the game.
And that play is made because of Tim Duncan's presence down low. You got to come down and help and double him. You kick it out and you swing the ball. It's so easy and so basic.
Well, what a difference that Tim makes, right?
Yes, it does.
And Battier now guarded by Parker. There's a mismatch inside. Jackson hasn't seen it yet. 2 on the shot clock, and the ball going up and batted away, and the Spurs had it. The Grizzlies missed a big opportunity down low. And here is Finley driving in. No one picks him up. And the Grizzlies just watched Michael Finley, who's in double figures, get the basket, and the Spurs are up by 4.
And the reason why no one picked him up, because Tim Duncan did a good job of sealing Powell, who was trying to get over with the rotation help defense, but he was sealed off because of Tim Duncan.
And it's Gasol against Duncan, and Gasol wins that one. Boy, he is showing some tremendous dexterity around the basket.
Well, he's very tough, and as Reggie indicated earlier, he's ambidextrous. He can go with both hands. Tim is reluctant because Tim is in foul trouble. He's very tentative right now.
Great steal by Eddie Jones. By the way, 21 for Pau Gasol, the all-star hope for the Memphis Grizzlies. And here is Duncan defending against Gasol again. Pau with the short jumper from the baseline. Pau Gasol putting on her performance here in the third quarter. 23 points, and the Grizzlies have come back to tie the game. And a timeout called by Greg Popovich.
And that's what makes him so tough. The play before, he goes middle and scores over Tim Duncan. And now he's got the defense guessing and second guessing. He goes baseline and scores in the jump shot. Tim Duncan, he has 3 fouls, doesn't want to pick up a quick 4th.
All of us who are old enough to remember the way the world used to be, and it's still not perfect, but the way it used to be, in a racial sense, know how important Dr. King was in changing all of that. And the first time you go to Memphis and you go over to the museum and you see that old hotel where he stood at that railing, and you see those cars parked underneath from that era when we were all a little bit younger, you remember what an important figure he was and still is. So it's a very special thing.
Well, and I think the significance of Pop saying that is the fact that Dr. King was good for all people. And I think all of us have a lot to be appreciated in recognizing.
I want to mention a guy who, of course, Bill Russell was out there. You're here. Red Auerbach, a common denominator to both of you.
And when I talked to Russell today, he spoke about all the things that Auerbach did, having the first African-American drafted, appointing the first African-American as a coach, putting the first 5 African-Americans on the floor at one time. Rhea certainly was a tremendous contributor to a lot of the progress that African-Americans made in this country.
Red Auerbach, one of the icons in the history of all sport, no question about it.
Well, he's very special to me. I love him dearly.
And I will echo that, although I didn't play for him, but I knew him and I know him, and a great man indeed. There's foul called against Robert Horry, his second foul. Right now, Tim Duncan with the problems, not only with foul trouble, but of course the foot as well, Reggie.
Well, he's running and looking a little awkward. We all talked about his plantar fasciitis at the top of the show, but he's not moving very well. He's not getting up and down, and most importantly, he's not contesting shots. If you can't jump because of the plantar fasciitis, it really limits your mobility down there, and it really looks like that from him.
Parker with a turnaround. That's where Parker has been tremendous. He is 5th in the NBA in shooting percentage, and they haven't had a guard there since John Stockton. He is 8 for 9 from the field tonight, and it's 61-59 in favor of the Spurs. And here is Miller with a 3, and he's got it. Mike Miller with his first 3-point field goal of the game, second for Memphis, and the Grizzlies lead by 1. Pretty good game here. This top the TNT doubleheader with the Heat and the Lakers coming up next. Barry. And Barry hits a 3, back-to-back 3s tonight.
Now's the shootout we were talking about. We knew that Mike Fratello and the Grizzlies were going to try to live and die by the 3-point shot, but here we go again with the Tim factor. You got to converge on them, and guys get wide open shots. Same way they're doing to Powell right now. They got to double team them, and The Grizzlies are trying to capitalize.
Miller missing the three. Parker going all the way in, gets the basket and a foul. So it doesn't take long for the Spurs to get down court and give the ball to Tony Parker, who just breezed by everybody and is fouled by Miller. Chance for the three-point play.
Well, and this is what the Grizzlies do not want to happen. You see Tony getting out in transition. They don't want the pace of this game this late to start to change, because if it changes, it's to the benefit of the Spurs. They've forced them, Reggie, to play half court. They want to stay that way.
I'm sure Pop is encouraged the way his Spurs now are finishing out this quarter. You say they were having lapses in quarters in recent games, finishing very poorly, and now it seems that his team has gotten the message.
Nearly a minute and a half remaining in the third quarter, and Pau Gasol going in a offensive foul called against Gasol, and that will be his third foul.
Boy, the significance of that foul is that no longer is he being played one-on-one.
And what he doesn't see, Coach, is they're coming baseline. I think Pop made the adjustment in the timeout to bring the weak side defender, so when he spins quickly baseline, which he just did, there's going to be a defender there.
Well, you call that sending the life preserver out. When you got a great offensive player, you better send some help.
Tony Parker, who is 9 for 10 from the field, now make it 10 of 11, and he is doing a one-man job of penetrating. Parker now with 21 points on 10 of 11 shooting. Ginobili has 10, the only other player besides Finley in double figures. The guards are getting the job done for the Spurs, and they need to, with Duncan with foul trouble. Under a minute to go, and the three-point attempt by Jackson doesn't go. Pau Gasol out jumps Mohammed and is fouled. Great hustle by relentless rebounding, Reggie, by Pau Gasol, and he's fouled by Mohammed, who picks up his boards.
Well, now you're seeing the Pau effect. Just very much like Tim, they're doubling him on the catch now. So it's going to be up to Bobby Jackson and Mike Miller to start making plays, as well as Eddie Jones to start making plays on the perimeter.
Pau Gasol only 25 in his fifth year in the NBA after being drafted third overall in the 2001 season, a native of Barcelona.
The thing you notice about him, though, is he's put on weight. He's gotten stronger. You got to really wonder what's going to happen if this guy gets stronger. With that mobility, if he adds power to his game, too, obviously he's going to be something to deal with now, even more.
Duncan on the bench right now, coming out of the game. He has scored 9 points in 22 minutes and 38 seconds. 10 on the shot clock. Ori with a fake, and now they go to Finley. Finley going inside. Basket by Finley. Acrobatic hoop by Michael Finley, who passed up a lot of offers to come to San Antonio, knowing he was going to come off the bench because he wants a chance to win a championship ring.
And that's a dream for him. Played 22 to 30 minutes, limited with his offensive skills. It's going to pay dividends come playoff time for the Spurs.
And Hakeem Warwick, who has come in the game, fighting his way for a second effort and draws the foul. The rookie from Syracuse, who was a part of the Orange NCAA championship team a couple of years ago. Robert Horry picking up his third foul. Interesting, talking to one of the Memphis coaches. I said, how's Warwick on defense? He says he's great on the 2-3 defense.
Yeah, he still thinks he's at Syracuse.
Yeah. But he'll learn, right?
Well, Jimmy Boeheim won a lot of games with that 2-3 zone.
I know. But
teaming up with Carmelo Anthony. You know, it's funny, watching his early preseason games, everyone gave him the head and shoulder fake, and he went for every pump fake. And I was telling Coach to tell him to stay down. This is the NBA. This ain't college where he can time every shot. You know, you're conditioned in the pro level to always give everyone a pump fake. He needs to stay down.
And he misses both free throws, so the Spurs are up by 7, playing for the last shot of the third quarter. Tony Parker finds Ori. Here's Barry for 3. Brent Barry missing a 3 at the horn, and that will do it. So a late spark by Tony Parker, who has 21 points, 11 coming into this quarter. And the Spurs will take a 71-64 lead. So there were 13 lead changes. Spurs outscore the Grizzlies 10-2. That's how they got their lead.
I have a dream. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
And welcome back to the FedEx Forum on a very special night. Start of the fourth quarter, the San Antonio Spurs leading the Memphis Grizzlies 71-64. Tony Parker with 21 points, 10 of 11 shooting, but that's only part of the story.
Well, you want to know where is he getting them? It's easy, in the paint, dribble penetration. 18 of his 21 points have been in the paint, and that's somewhat unheard of a 6-foot guard, Coach.
Do you recall that Bill Russell made a statement? What kind of rules were they going to play under when he was comparing himself with Shaq?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the old NBA, there's no way in the hell a guard would have 18 or 21 points in the paint when Russell was playing.
No way.
Somebody would have flattened him.
No way in what? Oh. Okay, start of the fourth quarter.
In heaven's name.
And Anthony Roberson has come back in, the rookie from Florida. Hakeem Warwick going up and in. And the offensive foul called against Warwick. So two rookies starting for the Grizzlies as we start the fourth. Roberson, the rookie from Florida, the guard, and Hakeem Warwick from Syracuse. And up there with Miller, Wright, and Eddie Jones. So Pau Gasol with 25 points starts this fourth quarter on the bench. Nick Van Exel at the point with Nazr Mohammed. Tim Duncan back in. Michael Finley with the shot that doesn't go. And Brent Barry.
And sometimes you pay a price for having to play rookies in the fourth quarter, particularly if they are rookies that have had a lot of time earlier.
Miller, high bank shot. Duncan snares it down. Tim Duncan now with 6 rebounds. He has scored 9 points. Crowd wanted to travel. And they're going to call the blocking foul instead against Mike Miller at third. So once again, the Grizzlies start picking up fouls early in the period.
Well, and also, if I'm Popovich in the Spurs, right now with the rookie Hakeem Warwick on Nazr Mohammed, you've got to give him the ball and try to get him some looks, because his inexperience is really in the fourth quarter going to come to a head. You know, you think they're going to go to Tim Duncan, but try to get the ball down low.
Duncan is looking for Nazr Mohammed. You're right, Reggie. Takes it up himself and misses, and the rebound taken down by Hakeem Warwick. So the Grizzlies leading after the third quarter, doing well, trailing 1-10, and they're trailing. Here's Roberson, long shot and hits the three. And what did Mike Fratello say? The one thing this guy can do is shoot. Came into the game 6 for 12 from the field in his limited time.
Well, that's what they're going to need from him, especially with Bobby Jackson on the bench. You know, he's not a point guard, he's more of a shooting guard in a point guard's body, so he's got to put the ball in the basket for them.
Ginobili misses the shot, and here is Eddie Jones. That was a rarity for the Grizzlies, who have hit just 4 outside shots all night. Well, last one coming from Roberson.
I was getting ready to put my foot in my mouth saying, what is he? Good shot.
Yes. I'm sure you've done that in your years.
A lot of times in Georgetown, huh, Coach?
Many times. I always took credit when he went in, though.
Van Exel leaving it for Ginobili. So Parker is on the bench, getting a well-needed rest as we saw. Van Exel going up, foul before the shot. Nick Van Exel, another veteran along with Finley, and another foul being called. This will be against Eddie Jones, his 4th, and already the 2nd team foul against the Grizzlies.
And this is why it's so important for Eddie Jones to be on the court right now, because in talking to Mike, he talked about his leadership amongst these young guys, too.
Duncan against Warwick. He's got it. So Warwick now picking up Duncan and taking advantage of it. 11 now for Tim Duncan.
Well, he got off to a slow start. We were talking about the plantar fascia and his feet being a problem. Got in early foul trouble as well. I think he's starting to find a rhythm.
And the pass into Lorenzen Wright. Maintains control with 9 on the shot clock. This crowd right now is out of the game, and they're going to need them to get in the game. Here's Warwick going around, but let's see what they call.
Inexperience, offensive foul.
Offensive foul against Hakeem Warwick. That'll be 4 on Warwick, and Mike Fratello, he hooked him around.
And this is just inexperience right here. He's got to know better than, you can almost see his hand on the other side of Nazr Mohammed right there with so much of a hook.
It was a good thought, but it was definitely not executed properly. He's got to be a lot more discreet.
So going to the bench is Hakeem Warwick and Pau Gasol coming in. Robert Horry we'll check in. Here are the players in foul trouble, and I would say at this point the guys with 4 are the ones you have to look at. Mohammed and Nesterovic for the Spurs, Wright, Jones, and Warwick. Warwick, of course, the youngster, and it would be Jones and Wright in particular.
Well, I think Hakeem's night is done probably, unless guys really get into foul trouble.
Well, we go to 4 overtime. Robert Horry with the hook shot in the lane. So Horry with his first points of the game. A little more than 3 minutes have gone by here in the 4th quarter. The San Antonio Spurs have tied their biggest lead of the game with 9 points. Dick Stockton along with Reggie Miller, John Thompson, and Cheryl Miller.
When you look out on the floor at that Spurs team, look at how many years of experience they have out there. Forget the quality of player. 4th quarter play belongs to experienced players because they know what to do and what not to do.
They've won 3 NBA titles in the last 7 years, but looking for their first back-to-back championship. And that's what their goal is. Ginobili to Horry. 3-point doesn't go, and Eddie Jones.
But you got to give Popovich a lot of credit for making the adjustment. Pau Gasol was killing him early in the 3rd quarter. He made the adjustment out of the timeout to start doubling him from the weak side. And now Memphis is forcing to take jump shots that they're not connecting on.
Manu Ginobili breaking through that block on the pick, committing the foul, and we'll have a timeout as the San Antonio Spurs lead by 9. Nearly 4 minutes gone by in the 4th.
I do care about the reception, but if I get booed, I don't, really, it's not going to make me go home and drink rat urine, So, a lot of people keep making a big deal about the reception. I'll probably get cheered, I'll probably get booed some, You have to understand that when you go to opposing arena, some people like it, some people don't. That's just the way the game is, that's just the way of life.
And what difference does it make? Remember when Kobe and Shaq are out there, nothing happened, and then they played a basketball game. But let's compare 2 of the all-time greats, Bill Russell and Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, it's very interesting. Reggie and I were talking about it earlier. The most surprising statistic is that Shaq has already played more years in the NBA than Russell has played. He's played 14 and Russell has played 13. The comparisons can sometimes be odious. I'll take both of those guys at any time. That 11 championship is pretty doggone impressive, though.
Following the timeout, 5 on the shot clock, 9-point lead for the Spurs. And there is Pau Gasol firing it up, and Battier keeps it alive by batting it out, and Jackson controls.
If any one thing that Pau needs to work on in his future development is an wide open shot facing the basket 10 to 15 feet out. Then they can't double him.
Here's Battier missing a 3, and Jackson keeps it alive with another offensive rebound and a pushing foul called against Nick Van Exel. It was interesting looking at the Bill Russell, to talk about Bill Russell, and I don't know if it's the same year, but 56, 57. NCAA championship at USF, Olympic gold medal, NBA world title with the Celtics, 56, 57.
Well, everywhere he's been. I mean, even in high school, where he didn't, really play a lot and wasn't a great player at that point, but everywhere the man's been, he's won extraordinarily.
Kleiman's house.
Everywhere that he's been, he's won.
Off the mark is Lorenzen Wright, and a loose ball foul is being called up against Shane Battier.
I was talking to Bill Russell. Speaking of Bill Russell, I was talking to him about whether he could play during this era of players, and he told me, well, I do pretty good. I'd probably only win about 8 championships. I said, what do you...
Modest Bill.
He said, what he said? Oh, he said, only about 8. He said, the one thing I did, I didn't play to look good. I played to win.
If there's ever a guy that doesn't need to be modest, it's that man.
And he is extremely modest. I have to push it out of him.
Robert Horry on the pick and spot up, tries to bank it in, but Tim Duncan with the offensive rebound. So both teams getting several possessions because of offensive boards here.
And you can't give San Antonio 2 and 3 looks at the basket. That's what happens right there. They have too many weapons.
Bruce Bowen hitting a 3 and coming in, leading the NBA in three-point shooting percentage. That is his first try of the game, I believe. Remember, he led the NBA in that area 3 years ago. And stepping back is Battier. His 3 doesn't go, but Pau Gasol reaches up for the rebound. And Bobby Jackson gets knocked down. No foul is called. And the battle for the loose ball, last touch by Van Exel. So after all of that, the Grizzlies will still have possession.
Right now, I think Memphis is settling on jump shots. In the first half, they were getting to the paint. And you see the shot right here by Bobby Jackson. I think he's trying to pull one of my moves, a little leg kick out, trying to draw a foul right there. But
now it comes out.
They need to stop settling for jump shots. I think, since he started to get double team, Kyle, they thought it was a license just to start shooting three-pointers instead of continually getting into the paint and getting easy ones.
Only one field goal in the last 8 minutes for the Grizzlies, and Battier is fouled by Tony Parker and will go to the line to shoot 2. Shane Battier with 9 points tonight.
The thing I always respected about Reggie was not how many he made, but when he made them. I think the jury is still out on Pau Gasol. He played well earlier, but now he's got to step up because this is prime time. He earns his stripes at this point of the game.
Tomorrow night on NBA TV, Sacramento hosts Phoenix. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. And on Wednesday on ESPN, Cleveland at Denver. Coverage will begin for that game at 9 p.m. So Battier making the free throws. And it's Spurs leading by 10. They did have a 12-point lead. As part of opening it up here in the fourth, Ori has it slapped away by Battier. Eddie Jones picks it up. And Ginobili with a reaching foul. And that'll be the 4th team foul. And the 4th against Manu.
And Manu can't believe it. He thought he had all ball right there, but he probably got him with a little bit of the body.
And a timeout. Spurs leading by 10. Halfway through this fourth quarter. Back at the FedEx Forum. Coming up next, Game 2 of our doubleheader as Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers host Shaq and the Miami Heat. And yes, we meet again, don't we? And a reunion of sorts. And Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Phil Jackson, who won 3 NBA titles with the Lakers. Don't forget, you can throw into the mix Pat Riley, who makes his first return back in Los Angeles, where he won 4 NBA championships with the Lakers.
Well, one thing I hope they don't do is put the spot shadow at the jump ball and jump circle. We know Shaq and Kobe don't talk and they don't like one another. Who cares if they shake hands or give each other a hug? Will you please stop showing that? We know they don't like one another, and can they just play basketball?
Eventually, it comes down to a basketball game. Eddie Jones misses a 3, scrambled for the loose ball, and Duncan goes out of bounds, and it'll be Spurs ball, and the foul is called. And it'll be against Eddie Jones. 5 on Jones. So here's Eddie Jones, who has struggled tonight. 3 points on 1 for 2 shooting and 1 foul away from disqualification.
Well, they need his experience on the floor, too, and that's particularly at this point of the ball game. Another thing that's come to my attention, Pau Gasol has been campaigning, and he hasn't, but this team has been campaigning for the All-Star game. Okay, and he's played well and probably deserves to be in the game, but he has absolutely no points in the fourth quarter. Big-time players step up. It's not quantity, it's quality.
Ginobili, Parker, along with Duncan, Ori, and Bowen. And Duncan firing up an air ball. Tim Duncan tonight with 11 points and 9 rebounds. Coming up and drawing the foul is Bobby Jackson driving to the basket. So Jackson is fouled by Duncan, and that'll be 4 on Tim.
I don't think Bobby Jackson wants to be a setup guard.
He's a shooting guard in a point guard's body as well. And when Damon went down, it kind of forced him into that role of being the setup man. He likes to be the closer. He's the Mariano Rivera of the team. He's coming in the bottom of the ninth and just finish the game out.
Dick, he's the man convinced against his will.
Nonetheless, folks, Bobby Jackson has 5 assists, which is more than anyone else on his team.
Oh, that's suffering peacefully.
So a word for the defense. 78-69. 9-point lead for the Spurs as Jackson made 1 free throw. 5 minutes to go in the fourth. Driving up, drawing the foul is Manu Ginobili, and he will go to the line. He's 3 for 6 from the line, and the Spurs 60% shooting tonight. Foul is on Mike Miller, 4 on Miller. Team fouls. The Grizzlies now are in the penalty, as are the Spurs. Miller checking that out.
You saw how quick Manu is right there, taking the ball off the dribble. Mike Miller thought he was going middle. He went behind his back and kind of got caught reaching a little bit. But it shows you how explosive Manu can be taking the ball off the dribble. That's one thing that this Spurs team has been missing when he was hurt.
The energy that he gives, and Greg Popovich telling us before the game that he thinks the team now can achieve what they would like to achieve now that he's going to be back in the starting lineup, giving the club energy off the top. So it's 80-69 in favor of the Spurs. Jackson inside. Eddie Jones on the reverse layup, and here's the 2-on-1 break. Bowen and Parker, Ginobili, the trailer, and foul.
Textbook fast break right there. Textbook. You get the ball to the middle, you have two wings, you have a trailer coming in, and Manu to try to finish the play.
Foul against Miller. That's 5 now.
Well, that's what you were talking about, Reggie, just pushing it down, and you see the only 2 white shirts, the other one just comes in. These Spurs have enough experience and enough habit of winning that they know when to smell blood and when to go for it.
This is the championship team that Pop is talking about. You know, this is the veteran leadership. This is why they brought in Nick Van Exel, Michael Finley, along with Ginobili and Robert Horry, who's got a handful of rings, 6 to be exact.
Right, most by any active player, but you know, it all begins with defense with this team, and in the 7.5 minutes of this fourth quarter, the Memphis Grizzlies have been held to 5 points by the San Antonio Spurs, and so they're up 82-69 with 4:33 remaining. We'll take a timeout here at the FedEx Forum. We'll be back with more in the first half of TNT's doubleheader. And right now, the Spurs own their biggest lead of the game, 82-69, 13-point advantage. Great point you made a couple of minutes ago, John, about crunch time and who gets the points for the team. Stars have to do it.
Well, if you want recognition as an all-star, and certainly Parker is a great player. He's played well. But if he wants to be acknowledged as an all-star, he cannot be tired now. He's got to step up. The defenses are going to adjust to him because of what he did earlier. All stars have defenses adjusting to him. He's got to play through all of the briar patches that he's going to run into right now.
Well, if I'm him, I get the tape of this game and see how they're doubling me, because now everyone's going to watch this, every other team, and double him that way. And he's going to have to find ways where he can not only find his teammates, but score as well.
Eddie Jones with only the second field goal for the Grizzlies here in the fourth quarter. Roberson had the other one. And 7 points is all, 82-71, an 11-point lead. Tim Duncan with 11 points and 11 rebounds, his 30th double-double of the season, and he leads the NBA in that department. 10 on the clock, under 4 minutes to go in the fourth. 5 now. Bowen for 3, short. Mike Miller, and he can get you back in a hurry with his shooting, guarded by Ginobili, backing in, feeding Jackson, driving in. Basket counts and a foul. Pretty move by Miller, and Jackson came down the middle for the basket. Fouled by Duncan is number 5.
And what happened was Tony Parker got caught up on the back pick, freed up Bobby Jackson to go down the lane, and Mike Miller did a good job of finding him.
The thing you want to like about Bobby Jackson is he doesn't mind sticking his nose in there. He's a lot like Tony Parker, Ginobili. He's not one of those guys just stand outside. He'll go in there and take the hit to score a basket.
Veteran, Sacramento, Minnesota, been around a long time. And it's an 82-74 game. The Grizzlies trying to come back in this one with 5 straight points. See how the Spurs answer it. They go low to Duncan. The double team comes. 5 on the shot clock, and loose ball picked up by Jackson. Nip palmed it, but nothing called.
That was a homer right there. Eddie on the road, they would have called that.
Eddie Jones stepping back.
Big basket needed right now.
And Pau Gasol with an up fake, hook shot off the rim.
And he hasn't shot in a while, that's why.
Out of rhythm. Parker gets the basket and a foul. And if you want to look at a snapshot of the way this game could finish, it's Grizzlies on one end with the opportunities, and then Parker with a three-point opportunity at the other.
Well, that's just amazing. I mean, you've got a guard penetrating in. You've got 4 white shirts, and he still puts it in. I mean, you see him penetrating. He's going in there. There are 4 white shirts. Tony Parker is really terrific at going into the paint and scoring on larger guys.
And Mike Miller has fouled out of the game. 6 foul against Miller, so he leaves with 8 points, including 1 3-point basket. So Miller is gone. Will be replaced by Dante Jones. And Gasol, who has only 2 shots for Mike Fratello's team here in the quarter. Parker will go to the line for a 3-point attempt, has hit 11 of 12 from the field tonight.
Well, and also on the flip side, Pop does a good job of bringing Nazi Muhammad in for Tim Duncan, a chance for him to rest. You know, that'll, not that it was a nail in the coffin right there, Tony Parker's potential 3-point play, but it allows him to rest Tim Duncan at the other end.
Like almost a 5-point turnaround in situation, Reggie, you have to say, with the opportunities Memphis had.
Well, I mean, in Powell's defense, he hasn't even shot in almost 14 minutes at the start of the 4th quarter.
Blocking foul on Ginobili, and he gets up in a hurry, and technical foul called as well on Manu Ginobili. Dick Bavetta in his 31st year calling the T.
He might have had a case right there a little bit.
I think he had a big case, to tell you the truth.
He must have said something, though, because he turned the other direction. It didn't look like he said anything.
Well,
it was Jones that got to him.
Eddie Jones with the technical foul. I can't figure that one out. So Dante Jones threw the ball. So Ginobili did, you were right, John. Ginobili did walk away, but Dante Jones threw the ball. Tyler Palmer right in the middle, threw the ball at Manu Ginobili. So
you can't stop him, throw the ball at him.
One of those Duke guys got a little hot under the collar. Jones makes the first. Ernie Johnson.
Ginobili is the kind of guy, though.
Thank you very much, Dick and Coach. We can get this story out of the way. Shaquille O'Neal goes down and greets Kobe Bryant as the Heat prepare to take on the Lakers in L.A. Game 2 of our doubleheader. I know Reggie is happy to see that. Guys?
Well, maybe
good. Maybe you guys won't focus in on it. Well, I shouldn't say you, Ernie, but the cameramen that are in L.A. won't focus on them hugging and kissing at half court.
Well, maybe it's the kind of day that we're celebrating today. That's
true.
Right?
It's all about peace and remembering and acting. You are right about that.
So wasn't there a song that said, "Will you love me tomorrow?" Though.
Southwest Airlines game break. Reggie Miller, this one just for you from a different angle. Shaq meets Kobe beforehand. Their icy relationship beginning to thaw. We'll update that story 40 seconds from now. Back to you.
All right, Reggie.
Well,
different angle, huh?
I just think it's been hyped up, overblown.
You know, I can see, Reggie, where you really are thrilled with the idea of that being a big storyline for tonight's Lakers Heat game.
We know they don't like one another. It's been well chronicled. Who cares if they kiss at half court? It's about the game. It's about the game. Who cares? You're going to drive down the lane and Shaq's going to take him out the air.
Well, that's why we got done with that, and then we'll have the game coming up soon with 2.5 minutes remaining. Tim Duncan going around Pau Gasol, and you talked about maybe fatigue. He looked fatigued on that drive, didn't he?
Well, and you don't have that luxury when you're the star of the team, though, and I think probably he'll grow through that. He's still a young guy. He's played extremely well today, but if he wants to be recognized as an NBA star, he's got to definitely step up at this point of the game.
And, of course, going against one of the better defensive teams in the league, as the Spurs coming in first in field goal defense at 43%. Right now, the Grizzlies are shooting 39% from the field. Also, 8 blocked shots hasn't helped the Grizzlies' cause either. Jones shooting. Ori committed that last foul and makes the first.
Well, I think another thing that somewhat hampered Memphis tonight is this man getting off to a slow start. He picking up 3 quick fouls. And now he picks up a technical to go along with those 4 fouls. Eddie Jones.
Technical foul.
He just got off to a slow start. He's probably telling the officials, now you want to call all the ticky-tack stuff, because I've been in this situation before. Game's in hand. It seems like the referees are trying to, the referees have heard enough. And this is a rookie. Eli is a rookie ref. He's not used to the constant badgering. And,
are you telling me that the referee should accept constant badgering?
That happens. When a team is up 13 points, yeah.
I guess it does happen.
Yeah, you should let it go. That was a ridiculous technical right there because, all he's doing, he's not being boisterous. We didn't know really what he was saying out here. Obviously, people in the front row don't hear what he was saying. So, what's the technical for? To show that you're in control?
Yes.
Call it during the middle of the game.
1 out of 2.
13-point lead.
From the line by Eddie Jones. And we're going to have a backcourt violation. Let's check and see. Over and back.
That was interesting. I thought the Grizzly player hit it back there.
That's what Dick corrected himself on.
Oh, okay.
Dick Bavetta, that is.
Well,
I didn't see the deflection myself, but I didn't see the deflection.
He did the right thing.
Right. Usually does, 31 years in the league. Finley had made, by the way, the technical free throw and a timeout called by the Spurs. 89-76 with 2:07 remaining.
Well, and I think in looking at this, the Grizzlies have done a great job most of the game of controlling the tempo, had the game played where they wanted it to play, but experience took over at the end. The Spurs are an experienced team that's used to winning.
I have a question to you, Coach. Is this somewhat of a message, a team in your division, you beat them on back-to-back nights, Saturday and Monday. Is this somewhat of a message for San Antonio to Memphis that, you guys are playing great this year, but you're not quite at our level yet?
Well, I think you're right, and especially significant what Dick said earlier. I think that the Grizzlies have beaten these guys on their own home court about 4 straight times. You can't let that happen. You can't go into the latter part of the season making someone think they can dominate you on their home court.
Yeah, give them ideas. Of course, this Memphis team, of course, Hubie Brown got them to 50 victories and lost to the Spurs in 4 straight a couple of years ago, and then Mike Fratello took over as a coach of this team a year ago in December after they were 5-11, and really has done a good job. So we have 2 minutes remaining in the game. 6 on the shot clock. Duncan with the one-handed turnaround, and Eddie Jones gets the rebound.
It's interesting how you talked about the plantar fasciitis. The longer Duncan has played, his foot has gotten warmer, and you can see that he's got more athleticism in it.
Eddie Jones with the reverse lay-in. Duncan playing 32 minutes this evening. And it's an 11-point game.
I was really wondering when they put those names on injuries that you youngsters have now. We used to just call it sore foot.
Here is Parker going by Pau Gasol for the basket. So everything has been down low in the paint for Tony Parker, who has 26 points tonight, 12 of 13 from the field. A brilliant scoring night. And 22 points in the paint by Parker, 22 of his 26. Eddie Jones coming back with a carbon copy of the reverse lay-in.
Well, and that's almost criminal that a guy his size gets 22 points in the paint. The big guy should feel very offended, Reggie, by that.
And it's about time for Greg Popovich to rest his big people. Tim Duncan's going to come out. Oberto will come in, and want to tell our fans to be sure to participate in the text message question. I guess time is running out. You better hurry. Or I guess it's for the whole, is it for both games or just this game, guys? Okay. Who will win the Southwest Division? 56% pick the San Antonio Spurs. What did Dallas get?
56, that's all? There's a lot of dumb people out there.
How did Dallas and Memphis?
56, that's it?
Well, I think.
Well, there were 3, so Dallas is 21, and Grizzlies are 21. See, there's to have a playoff.
Well, and I think that 56% bought Popovich's spiel about how
they didn't hear him.
How terrible they're playing, and not knowing that that's the demeanor he's going to have until they get into the playoffs to keep these guys going.
Duncan, 13 points, 12 rebounds. Eddie Jones, by the way, fouled out at the other end with 10 points and 7 rebounds. And 104 remaining. And the San Antonio Spurs about to complete the 2-game sweep of the back-to-back. Won at home by 1 point on Tim Duncan's basket. And Bobby Jackson missed the chance to win it at the end. And this one a little more breathing room as Parker goes out with a brilliant performance tonight. 28, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Perfect from the line and just missed 1 shot.
Well, and for 3 quarters, I was extremely impressed with the Grizzlies considering who they were playing against. I think that in looking at that, Mike's got to be pleased to some extent. Certainly they couldn't close. Their depth hurt them. I think you made a great point, Reggie, about the fact that the tone was set with Jones being on the bench so long.
Beno Udrih has come in the game. Oberto is in there as well with Finley, Barry, and Bruce Bowen to play out the last minute of this game. As the San Antonio Spurs will extend their record on the road to 11-7. Here is Finley with a 3 and Pau Gasol with the rebound. Gasol tonight with 25 points, 9 rebounds, but nothing in the 4th quarter.
Well, and he'll probably get past that, but he's got to, in order for this team to be good, and in order for him to want to be accepted as a star in this league, that cannot happen regardless of what defense they're playing or what emphasis is placed on it.
Great to be with you guys on this very special night. Reggie Miller and John Thompson, it's an honor.
It's always a pleasure. This is one of the best holidays there is, Martin Luther King, and the halftime festivities were fantastic. It's one of the best halftimes I've ever seen. Always a pleasure, Dick. Coach.
Dante Jones with the lay-in, and Marty Aronoff with us again. Keeps hanging in there. Started 1982 with this guy and refuses to go away. Well, that's it. Our final score once again, the Spurs 93, the Grizzlies 83. So for John Thompson, Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller, and the rest of our crew, Dick Stockton saying good night from Memphis. Parker with 28. Gasol had 25. After this breaks, we'll send you to Los Angeles for Game 2 of our exclusive doubleheader as the Lakers host the Heat. So long, everybody.